Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone. Not sure where everyone is based right now, but welcome to our very first office hours webinar. So I'm joined today by Antoine from our product management team. Uh, as usual, we're going to have to give a couple minutes for more people to join. So as we are getting started, to make sure everyone hears us fine in the chat and everyone's excited about this, we'll ask you to share where you're from, which company you work at, and how often do you guys do reportings these days? I see AppTweak is typing, so everyone is welcome to join the chat as well to confirm everything's working fine. While people also get started with the chat, Antoine, maybe we can do a quick round of introduction. So who are you?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a product manager at AppTweak, and I work on the data-related products. So it means the API, automated export, but most importantly, Reporting Studio, which is going to be the main topic of today. So yeah, I'm kind of the go-to person when it goes about data or data exports.
That's why we asked you to be here. How long have you been at AppTweak again, so people understand kind of?
Yeah, it's been now more than 3 years. So I'm on my fourth year. In June, it's gonna be 4 year already. So it really flies super fast, to be honest.
Well, I've been here over 5 years, going into 6 now, so I can only confirm that. But yeah, great to see some people are starting to reply, see more people joining. So maybe to also share a quick agenda for how we're going to be doing this office hours. We've prepared a few dashboards that we're going to be showing to try and share with everyone how to build your first dashboard if you haven't already. What are some common dashboards that we see our clients are using? And obviously get some time for Q&A towards the end so we can be practical also for people who might already be using Reporting Studio and dashboards specifically, but don't have everything locked already. I don't know if we have a poll to submit to people to know a bit about how everything's working, but I think we might have something showing on people's screens soon. And we're gonna give just one more minute for people to arrive and get underway.
Apparently, the poll is underway, so it's gonna come soon.
Sounds good. So hello. I see we have some people going from India to the US, so I guess we're covering quite a few time zones at the moment. But it's great to see quite a few people mentioning they report weekly, bi-weekly. So I think everyone, you're in the right place. I see someone asking where we are located. So we are not in the same room but we are in the same office. We are in Belgium, in Brussels, which is where AppTweak is headquartered. I don't know how to make a good promotion of Belgium as a tourism destination, except maybe great beer and great food. But we'll have definitely some interesting option. Well, apparently some people already know how to sell it for us, so that's great. Okay, let's get started, so guys, because I think we want to make sure we get you to the good stuff, and the good stuff is what Antoine has prepared.
Yeah.
So I think the first thing is to kind of go to Reporting Studio and really show, for those of you who haven't had a chance to experience it already, like how to get started from scratch, right?
Yeah. Sure. Maybe some backstory about why we actually launched Reporting Studio and what's the really the big why. So as you may know, we have analytics in ASO intelligence of the tool, which is actually the place where you can measure your number of installs after a certain metadata update, the number of impressions, and so on, and really track what was the impact of your ASO efforts on your metrics. But at some point, we quickly saw that people want to cross-reference data from different consoles, from their MMP, or they also wanted to have some cross-country views, some cross-store views. And so we came with the idea of having a place where you could actually centralize all those different data sources and make some reporting on it and make some monitoring on it. So there actually sparked our idea and grew the product of Reporting Studio. So to make all the data handling part of importing CSV files, uploading them in a BI tool like Looker Studio, to take all of this data handling part away and focusing more on this analysis part, and also having the ability to share all those insights easily with stakeholders that are not necessarily having access to AppTweak. So that's kind of a bit of the backstory. So as Simon said, we will first having quick demo about how we actually are building a report and building a dashboard, and then we will be more looking at other dashboard and talking about some questions you might have. So Simon, I can start ahead, share my screen to make a first report. Do you have something in mind that you want me to do maybe before I jump in? I know we're having an app here for which we have some accesses.
So I see actually in the chat, Akash asked if we could use their app as a reference. Unfortunately, for at least for the first dashboard, we're not going to be able to do so, and that's because the first dashboard we should show, in my opinion, is going to be about what I call the stakeholder monitoring dashboard. It's that one dashboard that you and I have talked about so many times, Antoine, because you know that consultants at AppTweak have to often send information about how a particular app is performing. And so for that, we want to show data coming straight from an app's store consoles. And for this, we want to give a quick shout out to Ifrek, which is a small Belgian app for people looking to try and take the leap from amateur to pro football. And yes, I say football and not soccer. I'm terribly sorry for people in the US. But yes, basically, Ifrek has been kind enough to let us share data that is coming straight from their console. And so I think basically the story we want to illustrate here is how to build that first dashboard that's going to be watched, be seen by the CMO, the head of growth, like all the different company stakeholders you usually deal with when you're working in ASO. And so, I think the first thing is going to be like if you can show us how to basically create a view of downloads from iOS and Google Play for a given app.
Okay, that sounds great. So I went ahead and went to the section of Reporting Studio here, and then I'm landing in the tab Reports, where I can find all the list of reports that I've created previously. And then there is another tab which is called Dashboard, and it is basically actually a collection of reports that I've created in the past. Here I'm in the iFrag workspace, which is a shared workspace. So this is very useful to collaborate with colleagues that can create reports on that workspace, but also edit reports that I've created myself. So let's get started. What I'm going to do in the dashboard tab, I can actually directly start by creating a dashboard. I'm going to name it my first dashboard, like this here. Hit save. And once I'm in my dashboard, I can decide to either add reports from saved reports or start creating new reports. So that's what we want to do, is create a new report. And first thing to do is select and pick a metric. So when you're going to pick a metric, you will have the possibility to choose from different data sources. And again, this is really where the value lies in Reporting Studio, is to have your integration connected so that you can get data from your consoles, but you can also have data from Apple Search Ads, your MMP such as Adjust, AppsFlyer, and we're also working on other MMP providers such as Branch and Singular. But for now, let's look at the store console data. So you wanted to have total downloads, Simon, so I'm going to get this from App Store Connect. I'm going to choose for worldwide data because I want to have all the countries. Here in the filters, I can decide to have a breakdown per source type, but we don't want to have this for now. So I'm just going to hit save to have an overview of my total downloads over time. And what I will do next is I'll do the same, but for Google Play. So store listing acquisition, worldwide is already selected. And I'm going to hit save again. I'm just going to put iOS in blue because we're used to use blue for iOS, and I'm going to use red for Android. Now, when you report to a C-level, maybe you want to just have one single view, one single, I would say, metric for all your downloads. So here, what you want to do is to make the sum of those two metrics. And that's when custom metrics and the formula are pretty handy, because you have the possibility to sum, divide, subtract metrics that you have created previously by creating a formula. So you can see labels that are before the metrics like A and B, and we're going to use those to create a formula. So A plus B, and I'm going to name this iOS plus Google Play downloads. So,
Right. So basically, whenever I want to use a custom metrics, I need to first add the different components to the metric I want to create, and then I just have this formula which is based on just simple math operations and letters based on what I use, right?
Yeah, exactly. Indeed, you first need to add those metrics to make the formula after.
All right. So at this point, the consultant in me is going to say, well, indeed, I agree with you. Especially if this goes straight to the CEO, they don't necessarily care about is it iOS or Google Play. They just want to know how many downloads did we get last month. But then they're going to ask me, okay, is this more or less than the previous month or the previous quarter? Like,
Yep.
so what are my options here?
So here, actually, what you should be using is to compare this to the previous period. For example, if you're having something relative, I would advise to use previous period to see what's the evolution over time. And when you're having the previous period, you gonna use maybe previous month here. Okay, I think we had a small lag. I'm gonna reuse previous period. Or previous month. For this, where you can actually compare your data against the past. And what's useful for this is to have the table below where you can actually see the totals and see that you had a growth of 15% of the last previous days compared to the previous month.
So quick question, because I see that like here you're looking at last 30 days, but can I also look at just last month, like last calendar month?
You can look at last calendar month, but you will need to select it yourself by selecting here in the fixed date. And once you have this applied, it won't change. If you come back, you will have always the same view like here.
Right. So basically, I have the fixed view for just showing this, like when I know specifically a month I want to report in, but also if I want to be lazy and not have to make any changes week after week, I just actually go to the previous setting you had. I just say, show me last month or last 30 days, and then compare it to.
But I would say, just if you want to have something dynamic, then you just can keep last 30 days. If you're making like week over week, evaluations. You can also set it to have a weekly view. And then I would rather advise to have the column chart to see how is your evolution week over week.
Right. And so here week is seen as from Monday to Sunday, right?
Exactly. We're taking a Monday to Sunday as a reference.
Okay, so at the moment it's only Thursday, so I shouldn't be too worried about this week, but I can see that last week was not as good as final week of January.
Exactly. Yeah, indeed. We weren't as good as last week, last month in January.
All right. And so maybe you can explain also what I can do with the notes and with the analyze ASO impact.
Yeah, so analyzing ASO impact is useful when you're actually making changes or updates to your app. So I'm just going to remove the comparisons for now. Well, for this, I'll just probably need to have my apps appearing here, metadata updates. Yeah, I know why, because we're actually being in worldwide view. So that's the reason why ASO impact.
Okay, then I guess we can go back to this a bit later because I know we have examples from specific countries
we
later
do.
on. But so if then we have this view, I like the bar chart, by the way. So basically at this point, it's just like ready to send, right?
Yeah, ready to send. So you can actually share this report directly, copy to URL. And if you want to show it to someone who doesn't have access to AppTweak, you can actually show it in a shared mode here, and people don't especially need to have an access. And if you want, you can also have this shared with a password. You just need to make it private, and then you will need to share your your report with the password.
Right. So now basically last changes, I just need to title my report,
Yes.
and then I'm basically sending it to the CEO. But I think I'm still thinking maybe I need to show more. So I think this is a moment where we need to talk about dashboards, right? And kind of show if we want to go a bit still in more details for someone like the head of growth who's going to have questions on these numbers.
Totally. Maybe just before jumping there, I want to show here on the display settings that you can show the data labels. Personally, I like to use those because when they're in the dashboard, it's always useful to have those. And also that we have added we've created a report from a dashboard, which means that it was automatically added to my dashboard. But now we can also decide to add it to another dashboard that we have previously created. So yes, like you say, let's head over to the dashboard and the one that we have created for this webinar. So this is actually, the same view that we have here, except that we have Q4 that we compared to the previous quarter. So this is kind of the, very overall report that we have. But probably if you want to report to a head of growth or a CMO, maybe we want to deep dive a little more. And then have a look at a view per store, Simon, right?
Yeah, definitely. And here I'd say actually there's like two schools. Neither is right or wrong, but in the case like IFREC, IFREC is really focused on Belgium at the moment. They're Belgian based and they're only starting. So I don't think it would make as much sense for them to look at the downloads per country as just looking per OS, because at the moment what their challenge is going to be is are we investing on iOS or on Google Play specifically when it comes to ASO, and kind of see, well, where we're investing, are we having success? And so I think in terms of numbers, we can see that iOS is a more of a priority for them right now, even though the good news is that there's growth on both stores at the moment.
Yeah, indeed. And like you say, we can actually see in those views that their main market remains Belgium, although France accounts for like 10% of it. For Android, it's even more pronounced that the Belgian market is their big focus. And then we
Right.
have
And so, for instance, with also for how to use the dashboard, if I want to actually change a visualization, I just like I can have my report created. I just need to go in the report and change the visualization.
Yeah, you can also change it from here actually. So if you want to have it with you as a line chart, it's totally possible. But yeah, that's so up to you. You can either enter in the report or do it directly from the dashboard itself.
Yeah, that's great. So I think the pie chart is what I would use sort of by default when the goal is to really show where we're putting the efforts.
Mm-hmm.
But it's that if I'm working with a larger team and on multiple countries, maybe I also want to use more of a line chart or if a bar a column chart to show more of like country by country where does each country how does each country perform month over month.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Yes, I would say, what would you look at afterwards?
I mean, here so far we're purely looking at like download numbers, because obviously that's sort of what our stakeholders need to see first.
Mhm.
They're not yet looking specifically at the performance of the ASO manager. At first, they want to have that view on like the entire team. But I guess if we scroll down, we're gonna get a bit more to analyzing specifically store performances and having a bit more of a view of ASO. So the first thing, what we've prepared here together, it's really going with the traditional approach to ASO, trying to look at where does traffic come according to the sources defined by App Store Connect and Google Play Console specifically.
Yeah, totally. And we can see that the majority is still coming from search. Actually, on both store, I think that it's mainly search that is accounting for the biggest amount of traffic, right?
Yeah, I mean that's good ASO in my book, or at least that's reassuring most of the time. What's interesting though is that we can see also there's been a peak in November on iOS that wasn't just search, but that appears to also have been from I think app referrers.
Yeah, indeed.
And so, well, we're kind of getting there already because we build this together, to be honest. But you know also what would be my next step, and usually it's to say when I see a surge in traffic, I also need to understand was this like how did this perform in terms of downloads? Was this impactful? Did I bring traffic that was qualified, or actually did did this hurt my conversion a little? And so I think here, like the example from Ifrek is uh, the scenario I always hope for, but don't always get, which is that when they had that spike in app referrer traffic, they actually got an increase in conversion rates. So I don't remember what the guys told me about like what they had done, but clearly that's the type of maybe paid UA boost or very specific marketing action that does drive extremely good conversion overall.
Yeah, yeah, that's good to see. And also on Android, they're getting some pretty good conversion rate. Of course, it's not the same because it's people that are directly on the apps page, since these are store listing visitors, but still around 45%. And then, yeah, I think this one is also interesting that you want to have a look at what's store downloads versus external. What's really the difference between both on each store?
Yeah, so in here, like it's something that I'm always hesitant to look at specifically in such view, but I do know it's really important for some of our clients where I think if the ASO team is siloed and sort of separate from the paid UA team, there's really this interest in being able to show how much traffic or how many downloads come specifically from store related sources or external sources. So for iOS, we're going to have search and browse defined as our store-related sources. We're going to have web and app referrer merged into one source for the external. For
Indeed.
Google Play, we'll simply merge. We'll simply be merging the search and explore traffic sources. External is referral because Google only has third-party referral. But in here, it's true that you actually have the custom metrics that can be useful, and we can push this further. With ifrec, I know there's not a lot of different keywords performing, but with some of the larger clients I work with, something we do quite often would be to look at all the installs, all the store listing acquisitions coming from all keywords, because some keywords are actually labeled as explore and others are labeled as search. So in reporting studio, we have that option to instead just show all the keywords, and then we show store outside of keywords as a custom metric.
Mm-hmm. Totally, yeah. And just to explain to the users here how we did it. So we actually use an aggregation, and we summed those two source types together. We did the same for external, and then what we also did is that we renamed the metric. We put a custom name, so you always have the option to rename a metric if you want to make it a little bit shorter, and then you can come back to your dashboard here. But yeah, that's interesting. If people want to go further for Google Play, we can always explain later how that works too.
Yeah, and actually another thing we could do on iOS, I know something that's quite popular. ifrec does not use Apple Search Ads at the moment, but I know that a lot of times people want to have organic search only when reporting to the head of growth, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
And so something we definitely get to do with Reporting Studio is get the downloads from App Store, like search in App Store Connect, and remove with the custom metrics. Just remove the Apple Search Ads installs from those, so we can have really this organic search versus paid search view.
Yeah, I had this question so many times actually when we were developing Reporting Studio. Yeah, how can we get organic downloads? And I think that's a big pain reliever to be able to do this and avoid, I would say, exporting this data from store consoles, from Apple Search Ads. So I think we're going a bit over time. So quickly on this here, I think we just want to show first-time downloads versus free downloads. I know it's a new app, so here I think everything looks normal. A lot of first-time downloads. That's what I would expect. But yeah, indeed, if the app is maybe more mature, there might be more of a balance, and maybe even more returning users over new users, and that's maybe not something we should be afraid of.
No, for sure, it's nothing to be afraid of. But yeah, I really like having these views, because it's always good to educate stakeholders about whether the job of ASO should be to cater specifically to new users, or actually to be a bit more full spectrum, and also embracing the fact that after a while your app is known, and you should also convince people to re-download if they've uninstalled your app.
Yep. All right, perfect. Let's then head over to another dashboard. We have 5 minutes left for going over another one. I was thinking to go over the competition monitoring, as I find this one pretty insightful. I don't know what to think.
Like, before we explore this one, I'm actually going to answer a first question already, because I see Alexandra in the chat is asking if we thought about creating a standard ASO dashboard and templates. So I won't give too much away in terms of what your team is working on at the moment, but even when it comes to creating different things, we'll make sure to share in our help desk. We have actually created a dashboard gallery for people to draw inspiration from.
Yeah, 100%. So we have here indeed in help desk the dashboard gallery. So if you want to have a view on the report that we've just created, you can head over to this page, and you can either see the dashboard live, So we also made a video about it. And yeah, of course, it will be on a roadmap to make more templates so that it's automatically done. For now, it's still some manual building of those reports.
Yeah, I think the big challenge with templates is that there's a lot of things that where you need to have connected specific data sources, but I'm still really hopeful you guys can crack that in the future.
Yes,
Um,
that's part of the challenge.
yeah, so you wanted to show the competition monitoring dashboard, and
I was thinking of this one,
yeah,
but yeah, because we just have 5 minutes.
no, I think that that one is actually fun because we can also show the versatility of Reporting Studio, because this one I know I've discussed with some consultants. It's a typical example of how you start by just monitoring the situation between different competitors,
Mhm.
and you can also go into investigating after a while. So typically monitoring competitors, I think here we took the example of several squad RPG games. So Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, Marvel Strike Force, Raid, Shadow Legends, AFK Journey. Um, First thing we usually look at is the share of downloads between the different games, like how many downloads do they each get. Same with revenue. So all of those can be based on the AppTweak estimates you find in analytics. But then something that becomes a bit more advanced, and that our consultants are always curious to play with, is when you add, so looking maybe at one specific app, views of what the app has been doing, to also look, for instance, at is there here for revenues, do we see that peaks in revenue also correlate with moments where the app is running in-app events on iOS, promotional content on Google Play? And yeah, we can look at different metrics. So can be also, well, is a correlation with what they're doing? Is it just based on a correlation with how many downloads they're getting, etc.?
Yeah, totally. So here we can see that it's not always correlated with, yeah, peak in revenues is not always correlated with a peak in downloads. So that's interesting to view, to see. Maybe just like, yeah, in-app store in-app event that is going on. All right. So just to go back about how you activate those in-app events. So you need to go here in ASO Impact, and where you will be able to select the relevant in-app events. All right. I think if I'm heading back to the competitor monitoring, there was another view that maybe you wanted to have a word about.
I will give my usual warning about what you just scrolled over, which is category rankings,
Yeah,
just because I mean, you've heard me complain about this many times. Category rankings, we know, are based on comparative downloads between different games. So it's something that I always advise to not prioritize as a success metric. But it's true that it's still something a lot of stakeholders care about. So it's still worth pointing out that obviously we've been showing a lot of metrics that are either coming straight out of store consoles or estimates AppTweak is able to calculate for similar metrics, but we also have the usual publicly available ASO metrics. And so that's one good example. And then we have the good stuff after the category ranking, where we can also play a bit with data we receive from keywords. So things like maximum reach to have an ID. And so some people could say, why do we have keyword data in a competition monitoring dashboard, especially when it's so broad? But actually, what I've done for several clients was to have sort of brand awareness trackers thanks to this, where what we do is we only compare the maximum reach of their brand names in the App Store or in the Play Store to really show, okay, how top of mind is your game compared to some of your competitors?
Yeah, no, great. That's indeed one of the capabilities of Reporting Studio, looking at your max reach on different markets, on different stores, so that we can clearly be a use case. All right, I see that we're now entering the last 10 minutes, so I don't know if it's time to address some questions we might have received. Otherwise, we still have a dashboard that we didn't cover, so we can go over this as well.
I think we can start with the questions. We had quite a few in the chat, so I'm going to try and scroll through the chat to pick at least some. For
Okay.
people, though, you also have a question box for people in the audience. So with some of your latest questions, I also invite you to add them in the question box. That way other people can upvote so we know which one to answer first. That will make it a bit easier for us to pick from. But going already, so question from Akash. What are the plans that have access to Reporting
Yeah,
Studio week?
I can actually maybe tackle this one. So Reporting Studio is available to all new business plans. So new business plans comprises essential, think grow, scale, and also our enterprise plans. So if you're on the legacy plan, you will have to upgrade to one of our newer plans. So in your case, Akash, I think that starter plans are not don't have access to this feature, so you will have to upgrade your plan.
Next question, actually series of questions. I see multiple people ask about which MMPs are supported in terms of integrations with AppTweak and Reporting Studio.
Yes. So for this, currently we're having AppsFlyer and Adjust that are both integrated. Now the good news is that we're working this quarter already on having new MPs. I think that Singular and Branch are the two ones that are in top priority. So yeah, hopefully by the end of the quarter we will have more news on this. I also see a question from Josh about how about annotations so that you can mark optimization dates to show on performance charts. That's an interesting one because you can actually use notes. So I'm just going to take this one that we created previously. Here you have the possibility to add chart nodes. So if I'm putting here this on and I'm going to unstack the graph, you can have chart nodes on the graph. And if you want to add a chart node, you just need to pick a date in January on the 8th. You can say, oh, we can see. All right. My bad. I'm going to share my screen very quickly. So here, what I was saying is that you can actually add a chart nodes on a chart easily. Pick a date, 8th of January. You can say screenshot, update, hit save, and your chart node should appear in January. Of course, here I'm looking at December. So let's make it in December 12th. And here you can see your chart node. All right.
Yeah, so I think basically this is also when you basically mix the analyze ASO impact if what you want to annotate would be specific to a particular a particular store event, and you have these chart notes for things like when you start increasing on a particular campaign from, let's say, Meta.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you're making an update on TikTok or Meta. It's not especially something that is related to ASO, but you still want to see it on your chart, so you're going to use the chart notes for this.
Yeah, I see several questions also on how to basically try to separate organic app downloads and paid app downloads in the report. So I think this is really sort of what we started alluding to with the custom metrics. We couldn't show too much because our example app Ifrek, they're not doing a whole lot of UA at the moment, but definitely I think it's a combination of MMP data and ASO data that gives you these options. And the level of granularity you build is really dependent on what's inside your own consoles.
Indeed.
I don't know if we have many more questions. So if people want to add a couple more, I think we still have 5 minutes. And then obviously also, if people want to see more, we have in the chat the link to the dashboard gallery. We also have obviously a team of customer success managers who are able to answer more questions. One thing with since we have you here, Antoine, are you able to share anything about what's coming next now that we have the dashboard view?
Yeah, I'll do that just in a second, because I remember I had two questions that were sent previously on the questionnaire. One was about whether we could send monthly export by email automatically. So that's indeed something that we would like to work on in the future. So indeed, Simon, that it's in the work in progress. But with the dashboard link, your reports get updated automatically. So you don't especially need to get that link every week. And another question that I saw is, why is there a difference sometimes between downloads that are coming from AppTweak, or the estimates that are coming from AppTweak, and the downloads that you can get from your consoles? So the downloads that we provide for the AppTweak estimates are first-time downloads, and of course these are estimates. So these are based on our data science models. While sometimes when you're plotting your store console data, you're looking at your total downloads. And now what's actually on the roadmap? We're now actively working on an incrementality feature. So what is this about is we have a lot of ASO managers coming to us and asking, okay, what's the value, or how can I measure my ASO efforts in terms of ROI, and what was the impact of a certain action on my downloads or on another metric. And so we developed a feature where you can compare what the metric that really happened with the event, and then we're predicting a value or a metric that happened without the event. So we're kind of isolating the metric without the event by basing itself on historical data. And then we can measure whether you had some incrementality on your metric from your event. Besides this, of course, top of mind, I would say, is to have filters on the dashboard. Something that comes back often is to be able to filter it by date range. That's high on the priority list. Templates is also something that I'm thinking of. And then, some other UX improvements. Being able to bulk edit metrics is also something that we would like to work on very much. So
Yes,
these are.
you're going to be busy, basically.
Yeah, indeed. There's a lot of stuff to do.
That's great. I think we're going to have to wrap up about now, but thanks to everyone who participated. Quick update on the poll rerun at the beginning of the session. So I see a third of people say gathering metrics is from different sources is the biggest challenge. Knowing which metrics to focus on, also a third of the votes, and the question of creating easy to understand visualization and the time needed to build reports being named 17% of the time. So thanks to everyone who participated in the poll. Hopefully we'll have convinced you that reporting studios and the dashboard especially are a difference maker for these kind of things. And also, well, now that you have seen Antoine, you know that he's really curious about feedback. So obviously, everyone who joined us today, thank you for joining the first office hour. And don't be afraid to share feedback after the session. Send suggestions if you feel like there's something we haven't discussed, something you'd like to see next. And hopefully we'll have another office hour, maybe with you, Antoine, maybe with another product manager very soon.
Great. Yeah. Thanks a lot for your presence and also your ASO insight, Simon. And indeed, loving to hear your feedback. Feedback is my daily bread as a product. So yeah, hope to see you soon.
Thank you again, everyone. Have a great rest of the day wherever you are in the world, and we'll see you soon.